Hello and welcome to KitPlus TV. So, if we're talking wireless intercoms, what do you look for?
Hands-free, high quality, good range, within your budget would be big factors, I think.
Absolutely. And today we're welcoming Art Gonzales from Pliant Technologies, and in particular we're going to chat about the MicroCom wireless intercom systems, which ticks most of those boxes just mentioned.
Welcome to the show, Art. Good to see you.
Hello, gentlemen. Nice to meet you and nice to see you as well. Good to be here.
You're very welcome. Now, Art, Pliant has a long history of providing intercom solutions to sports and professional markets, and Matt just mentioned the MicroCom system. Is this a new option for those that previously didn't have an intercom choice?
Yes, absolutely. As you do, and a lot of people in the industry, we go to a lot of trade shows. We talk to a lot of customers. And one of the things we found is when we introduced this new MicroCom product, something very interesting happened. We had a lot more people coming up to us and pretty much saying that either they're using a very basic type of communication or they have no communication whatsoever. So this was kind of new to us. If you know our company, you know we make a product called CrewCom. We made a product called Tempest that have been around for quite some time. And those are typically for larger applications, higher end applications. But when we introduced MicroCom, the interesting thing we found is that either people weren't using intercom at all, they were using two-way radios. I even had one customer tell me that they were actually texting for camera movements. So, I mean, that even to me, that's just hard to believe that you would be able to work that way. But it's actually been a completely different set of people that are coming to us looking for some kind of solution, basically because there really hasn't been much out there to choose from, at least from a professional standpoint. There are other possible solutions out there, but as you mentioned, hands-free is a very key thing for a lot of users. Using a two-way radio is not real practical when you've got two hands on a camera or you're trying to do rigging or something like that. So really that makes a huge difference. The other thing is sound quality. That's key. That's one thing. That's one of our basic tenets when we're designing a product. Is really the sound quality is usually the number one thing. It has to really sound good so you can hear in a loud noise environment or just in general. And then, of course, the other thing is these same customers that were looking for some kind of solution, you know, they have fairly modest budgets. So we are now offering the MicroCom system in actually two ranges, which we'll talk about, but at a price point that's very, very, very approachable, starting at $500 per user US. So that's really what we have to offer with MicroCom in general.
Yeah, we're familiar with the idea of, needing to communicate, but without intercom. So what makes this intercom solution, this new intercom solution, different from anything else you've done before?
Yeah, good question. Several things to mention. First of all, with MicroCom, and I'll take this opportunity to kind of show you the products. Really, one of the things that we really looked at was the simplicity of it. For people that are just starting out or just have basic applications, it has to be really simple. An example, a house of worship where you might have many volunteers that aren't really technical. You have to make it as simple as possible, make it pretty straightforward how to use. The other thing, by the way, these are the two belt packs that we offer, and I'll talk specifically about the differences between the two series. But the other thing you'll notice is this is the product. I mean, this is the product line without the headset, which we'll talk about headsets in just a second.
Yeah.
But the other key thing is there's no base station. So typically, if you're familiar with most wireless intercom, there's usually some kind of central control unit or a base station that's required where all the signals go back through that base station and then basically get routed to all the different users on the system. With MicroCom, it is a pack-to-pack communication. So there is no base station involved in the technology. So essentially, you have one pack, and then you set one of them up as a master pack, and that's really just to send out a beacon to all the other packs in the area to synchronize the system. But they're essentially the audio data and so forth. This is a digital wireless, by the way. They all communicate amongst themselves, so there is no base station that everything has to go back to. And that actually has some advantages. The fact that that makes it very portable. So you can easily pack up your system, go do another venue or something with a different number of packs, and you can need to make changes. You can. If you don't, need to add packs, reduce the number of packs, whatever. It makes it much more flexible and easy to set up. Yeah. So So the other part of it is that makes it a little bit different is sometimes you'll see the integrated headsets where they're all in one. The limitation to that is the fact that you can't decide what type of headset to use. So with our products, we offer a full range of headsets, including the one I'm using here, which is a Smart Boom Lite, all the way to little miniature in-ear style headsets that go in the ear and have push-to-talk buttons and so forth. But generally, there are basically a lot of different options for the product.
So Art, can you give us a rundown of what particular applications where the MicroCom might really excel?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, one of them that's been very popular for us has been the house of worship market. Also education, and we've found, as you probably know, most schools have a limited budget, and also even for small theaters, small community theaters, even though with COVID going on and everything, some of that market is down a little bit. There are still some productions going on, whether it's online or with very small crowds or so forth. Some of the more entry level style theaters, schools, etc., houses of worship, we're finding that those are really where a lot of our customers are coming from. Also, new applications which are different, even for us. For instance, we've sold some systems to a company that does legal depositions. And that allows the client and the lawyers to be able to communicate with each other without having to be right next to each other or within a courtroom and so forth, to be able to communicate. Also, even things like drone production. This is a good example of a mobile system going out and doing drone production, where you have to have somebody tracking the drone and maybe an operator that needs hand-free communication. That's a good example. Or multi-camera film shoots. You go on location with multiple cameras. You might be able to communicate for camera communications. And basically, in general, our customers tell us what they use it for, and we've gotten a lot more unique applications coming in with MicroCom because of the flexibility of the system.
So, okay, around the globe, frequency reallocation is a concern for professional users, and of course, if you're going to the non-professional users, they need to be aware of what they legally need to do. So, can you comment on what frequency band choices are available for MicroCom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you know, just in the U.S. here and then around the world, actually, frequency allocations going on all over the place. So that's a huge thing to consider. And also, most of our users are probably using wireless microphones to some extent. So one of the first things that happened is, at least from a comm standpoint, is we've started to move away from the UHF band and the same bands that are being used for wireless microphones and in-ear monitors and so forth. There's a couple of other things that we do that are a little bit different. And to answer your question about the different bands, we do offer two different frequency bands. It's two different pieces of hardware. One of them is a 900 megahertz version that's available in North America and Australia. Actually, the Australian version is just a little bit different because of the frequency band that they have, which is actually half the band of the US version. And then for worldwide use, we have 2.4 gigahertz. And as you know, these are all ISM bands, so they don't require any kind of license. So that's key. And also, they're pretty much away from all your wireless mics and also from your in-ear monitors. The other part of that, as I briefly mentioned earlier, was that this is a digital system. And by that, we are using a technology called frequency hopping spread spectrum. Some people may be familiar with that. But the advantage of that is basically the way the system works is it basically takes up the entire spectrum, whether it's 2.4 or the 900 megahertz spectrum that we're allocated, and the frequencies hop. So 100 times a second, you're changing frequencies. It's unlike some systems which look for clear frequencies, we're not doing that. We're basically hopping across the frequency band. So if a piece of interference comes in, we're basically, the chances of getting a good signal back are really, really good. And also using error correction and so forth. But also, we realize that things change quite a bit. So we're also, we're looking at other bands and other options like that. So for the future, we're trying to look forward as well.
So Art, obviously this year has been somewhat challenging, shall we say, for production environments with COVID-19. How's wireless intercom being used in these times, and how's it helping?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. These are some different times, so we have to a lot of things to worry about from that standpoint, and things are and it's different. It's different even here in the U.S. It's different from state to state. Obviously, it's different from country to country, and how you handle things and so forth. But we've done several things to help to do our part in the mitigation of COVID-19. As you know, probably most people know, part of that is social distancing. So obviously, the obvious thing with wireless intercom is you're able to separate people. So if you do have to do some kind of communication in either a production environment or house of worship or so forth, obviously wireless intercom gives you the ability to separate. So now you don't have to actually approach somebody to give them direction and so forth. You can keep your social distance and even further, based on the range of the system. So that's one key thing. That just lends itself to the fact that wireless is needed even more. The other thing that we've done is I mentioned, all the different headsets that we offer. So we're not only a wireless microphone, or a wireless microphone, a wireless intercom manufacturer. We're also a headset manufacturer. And from a headset standpoint, we offer full ranges of headsets for not only our microcom systems, but also for our higher end crewcom system. And the advantage of that, it allows you to customize it based on the application and also on the person that may be using it. And from a personal standpoint, one of the trends that we've seen since COVID is the fact that people are buying their own personal headsets. Typically, as you know, probably in the past, you would go to a production and you basically, they would hand you a pack and a headset and away you go. That's probably not the best thing to do, although we do have ways of cleaning and so forth. But ideally, you would have your own headset. So we have options for that. Not only do we offer all of our headsets in the dual mini connector, which is what's on the microcom packs, which is a dual mini connection you can see here on the side. But we also offer them in the standard 4-pin XLR as well as a 5-pin XLR. And then a very unique thing that we offer, which has become very popular for people that do production specifically, is we offer something called a FlexLR. So this little adapter here is actually, it's 2 XLR connectors. On one side is a 5-pin female XLR.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
On the other side is a 4-pin female XLR. So this allows you to take a headset, let's say that has a 5-pin XLR on it, and plug it directly into something that has 4-pin male, or the other way around. So it allows you to adapt from a 5 to a 4. So let's say you have your own personal headset, and one day you're doing a production that's using, let's say, one of our crewcom belt packs, and that's a 4-pin. You can plug into that easily. But let's say you walk up to a camera and it's got a 5-pin XLR. This would allow you to very easily just pull it out of your pocket, plug in your 4-pin, and then plug the 5-pin into the camera, and away you go. So it makes it easy for you to adapt for different environments. We also have another version which is 4-pin female to 4-pin female. So that's another thing that allows you to do that. And kind of going back to the packs themselves, one of the things I didn't really mention that is worth mentioning is the fact you saw that I was holding up 2 packs. And actually, let me power on the XR. Just briefly, the difference between the 2 systems, they operate on the same principle, which is the fact that, as I mentioned, there's no base station. It's pack-to-pack communication and so forth. But the thing that really makes them different is there's a couple of things. So I wanted to kind of point those out before we finished up. And that is that the XR, which is the one I'm holding in my left hand, it is a 2-channel system. So you have 2 channels of communication. So there's an A channel and a B channel. And then also as opposed to the M, which is a single channel. Of course, you can see the size difference here as well. So the MicroCom M allows you to have up to 5 full duplex users. Okay. But it also has the ability to have what we call shared users. So let's say you go into an environment where you need more than 5 people working in one location. you can set up the remaining number of users as shared users. And what that means is that we open up one slot, so we take, then that point it becomes 4 full duplex, and then that 5th slot allows one person to talk at a time. So, and we can have an unlimited number of that, configuration. So that makes it much more flexible from that standpoint.
Mm.
And on the XR, we go even further, and this even allows you to do up to 10 full duplex users or 9 full duplex users and 1 shared users. And then both of them can actually let you do an unlimited number of listen only. So even an example would be, let's say you do some kind of meeting where outside everybody's socially distanced, and you want to have the ability for everybody to hear somebody who's talking, but also have people the ability to ask a question. You could have 2 or 3 people on full duplex, and then you could set up all the remaining, let's say there's 20 other people there, and they can use the push to talk button and ask a question. So that makes it very flexible for different types of environments. So going back to the whole social distancing and COVID mitigation, that's a great application for something like that.
In the States, Art, have you seen a rise in, say, lower division sports clubs now starting to stream their games or stream their matches because the crowds aren't allowed in? This seems to me to be quite a good solution for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely seeing a lot of that. Here in the States, we actually have our parent company. We're Pliant Technologies, but we have our parent company, which is called CoachCom. And CoachCom has been around for almost 30 years now, and they are specific to the sports market, the sports team. So the MicroCom specific product, we don't personally sell into that market. However, we do have this same hardware that's configured for sports applications, but that's sold under the CoachCom name. Okay. But to answer your question, absolutely. We not only see it with the coaches being used for their own communication, but from also on the MicroCom side, we have actually seen quite a bit of activity for specifically in the U.S. for high schools where they're doing streaming. They need to have camera operators around the stadium, and they'll use MicroCom because it's so portable and small and easy to set up. And the student, people that are doing the video production basically are using MicroCom for the video production of the sporting event. So yes, that's actually a great question, and that's a great application for MicroCom.
Brilliant. Worth people having a go, I think. So before we let you go, I don't know whether my colleague here has warned you about this, but since we're in an industry about people and relationships, we've been asking all our guests to tell us something about themselves that we, or maybe even your colleagues at Pliant Technologies, don't already know about you. What have you got?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a music background. I actually have a degree in music education, so I could technically be a band director if I wanted to. It's been a while though. But actually, while I was in school for music education, I became very interested in technology. So I actually went on and got an engineering degree. Actually, it was at the time it was a fairly new program at the University of Miami called music engineering. You may know the name Ken Pullman. He's actually been published many times over regarding digital audio. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners and viewers know that name. But he was the main professor there. So I got very involved in the technology side. So my background is music and recording. And just recently, I've started building up a home studio, which a lot of us do. There's a lot of frustrated musicians in the industry. So I am one of those. And but actually, one of the things I recently got involved in, which is fairly new, and actually started here at our company and with CoachCom, which I mentioned earlier, is I actually started doing some voiceover work. So I've actually even been told many years in the past that, hey, you've got a voice for radio or a face for radio, one of the two. But anyhow. Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyhow, I've actually done a couple of projects here within our company, and I was excited about it, and it's nice to be doing stuff like that. So I've actually recently kind of picked that up and hope to go further with that. So that's something that's new that I've kind of taken under my wing and going forward with.
There's talent there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you, Art. Thank you very much for watching today. And of course, thank you to Art from Pliant Technologies for coming on the show. To see all of our video interviews and kit reviews, then head over to KitPlus TV, which is brought to you with the support of Mediaproxy. And you can find out more about them at mediaproxy.com. Thanks for watching.